What did you notice? Because I think they had just won their first title. So it was like, okay, this team's here, they're done something, but you didn't know what the next 10 years was going to be, or 12, which we've now looked back and can see. What did you notice? And was there any indication that something like this was going to happen?
Uh, when you're in the hurricane of things, I think sometimes you're so focused on like the here and now. And all right, here's the next big step. Here's the next big step. And I think that was probably my thing is I just wanted to be a national champion. Um, but I wasn't, I don't think, thinking this long term, or now I can look back and be like, man, this is incredible with the last 15 years, the Penn State legacy. It'll probably never be forgotten. And then you look at the individuals and not just the titles, because titles are great, but I like how people wrestle. I remember people by the way they wrestled, who gave it, they're all, they just went all in when they wrestled. And there's so many guys like that have accumulated, through Penn State. But I mean, yeah, of course I knew something special, but I don't think to this extent. I don't think I wasn't mature enough to think that way yet. It was just like, hey, I'm coming in, I'm a freshman, I want to win a national title.
Sure. And they've had plenty of guys that have done it and been right there, on the doorsteps of doing it, which is pretty crazy. I like what you said though. It's not just about winning the titles; it's the way they wrestle, right? They just score points and they feel free, and that I mean, the so many of the Penn State wrestlers over the last 10, like you said, 15 years. How did that? Do you think that came to be? That not only they're winning, but the way they're wrestling. Is it preached? Is it fostered through development? Is it a combination of those things? Is it other things?
I think it's everything. I think Cael likes to recruit guys that are good people that they know that he knows love wrestling. And when you get guys that are good people, obviously strong in their faith, and they just love the sport. We interact with each other every single day and, have a smile on their face. But then how Cael would bring, these motivational talks that I'd be like, man, this is cheesy. And then the next day I'd be like, you know what? That kind of made sense. What he was talking about. It could be something. Sometimes he would say like a sentence or two and you'd be like, this is so cheesy. And then the next day I'd be like, what he said was pretty interesting. I think I'll take that and I'll store it up here. So I think it's the way every day we approached it, and they're the way they viewed the sport, and I feel like a lot of people focus a lot on outside circumstances, stresses, but the way he made us like every day bring into practice, like wow, we're excited to be here. Like this is other people get to go drink or play video games or whatever it is, and we get to go here and like just wrestle. That's pretty cool. So
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like they all are like, we get to do this. And I've wrestled, you've wrestled. It can be a burden. It's hard,
yeah,
there's a lot of ways to look at it. One can be like, just got to get through practice, or I'm tired to be. But like, yeah, they've done an incredible job of what you just said. Now, this is going to be tricky, and I'm not. If you can't recall one, cool. You said he'd give these little motivational speeches every day, or one or two lines, and it was cheesy. But a day later, I was like, actually, man, that hit. I'm sure he gave tons of these. So can you recall one of them, or one line, or one
yeah.
little
I
thing
remember
that
one
really?
that I use this. I talked to like a high school group 2 years ago. I copied off of it, off of I'm sure he got it from somewhere, but some of them he'd come up on his own. But it was a story about Scorpion and the frog, and there was a river, and the scorpion saw the frog, and the frog wanted to get over the river, and the scorpion's like, I'll take you over this river. And the frog was like, well, but if you sting me, Like he's like, well, what if you sting me? And the scorpion's like, well, if I sting you, we're both going to drown and we die. And halfway across the river, the frog feels a sting, and he looks at the scorpion. He's like, why did you do that? You told me you weren't. Now we're going to die. And he's like, I'm a scorpion. That's what I do. And at that point, I had to think about it. I'm like, what's that mean? And then it kind of brought into reality, like, I wrestle. This is what I do. This is what I live for. I have my faith, but this is what I choose to do. This is just my mentality. If I go out on the mat and whatever happens, I don't care. This is what I do. If I get taken down, so what? This is what I do. I get back up and I keep going. And if something like cheesy like that, I don't know, could have said, I probably could have made the story a little bit better, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah, it's kind of cheesy.
So something like that. Yeah, very
No,
cheesy.
but at this, I love it because at the same time, you're like, but it's actually insightful and thoughtful, and it makes sense. So like, which in the end, to me, makes it not cheesy. Um,
And then he said there's one other one. He's like, ships are safe at harbor, but they're meant to go to sea. That was another one that I remember a lot.
I heard that one recently. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're safe if you're. Well, you can take a bunch of different ways, and I like it. I like it.